Aliens, a massive franchise with an even bigger fan base. Many of the films have come and gone, some great, others not so much, and we don't talk about those ones. This franchise started in 1979, has had 6 films in total, and with those films have come numerous games, 24 in fact. Starting on Atari, it's crazy to think how much property is under the Alien banner. One of my favorite games has to be Aliens Online, followed closely by Aliens Isolation. These 2 games were key contributors of my Alien video game memories. Alien games have come and gone since the original on Atari, and now another game joins the fray. Welcome, Aliens Fireteam Elite, with a third-person cooperative experience, proposing a new spin on the Alien games. Let's check it out. Here is the Alien Fireteam Elite review. Enjoy. So the game looks passable, nothing that will make your jaw go agape or stun you with its amazing vistas. Considering it's a small team of people who made it, they did a great job on the alien models actually. Aliens by nature are so intricate with many moving parts and jagged or serrated edges. Cold Iron Studios did a great job of bringing the models to life in this way. It adds to the immersion, which in this case of Aliens is very important. The whole franchise is built around suspense and grotesque designs of the aliens. I'm pleased to report back that practically all the alien models were bang on the money. Now there were a couple of enemy types in the form of simps and these zombie-like creatures, but those were largely uninspired and served as a way to mix up the variety, which this game lacks unfortunately. Many of the levels feel the same though, throughout the 12 different missions you play. And it's not for lack of surface variety, because the levels do look different, but the design philosophy is largely the same, leading to these uninspired levels. It wasn't until the last level where I really felt the alien vibe, with dark winding tunnels and facehugger pods littered across the level. I wish there was more of that, to be honest. Going back to character models and just models in general, you can definitely feel the difference in budget allocation here, with the aliens and guns receiving most of the budget. NPCs that are around your home base are all very generic, and they don't have much visual appeal to them. Their mouths don't even move, which is just the icing on a very dry and boring sponge cake that is NPC design. The guns do much better though, with a variety of unique and cool looking weaponry. Flamethrower being my go-to on more than one occasion, because nothing is better than seeing grotesque alien menace crumbling under my mighty flames. In terms of visual differences, there are mods and skins which add to the mix, which make the guns feel fresh and new. Ultimately though, I get that you have to pick your battles with budget allocation, and I'm glad it was spent on the aliens and weaponry. As I mentioned previously, I felt that the guns had quite the allocation of the budget, with a slew of mod upgrades and skins. They are what kept the content interesting on my first playthrough. Notice that I said my first playthrough. Upon booting up the game, you get to select one of 4 classes: the Gunner, Doc, Demolisher, and the Technician, all of which have their own abilities and perk systems. And once you get access to these abilities, you get to mix and match from different classes, ultimately making your Marine way better in any situation. It could be that you have a healing station that stuns and slows enemies, or a fireteam buff that increases the fire rate to dizzying speeds. I played the Gunner on my first playthrough, followed by the Doc and then the Demolisher on my third playthrough. Now the guns and perk systems feel great, which can be supplemented by credits you get from your mission. Admittedly though, you get these credits at a painfully slow rate. The most painfully obvious thing in my first playthrough was how little content there actually was. You get 12 missions, about 30 minutes in length, give or take 15 depending on your difficulty and skill level of the team. The 12 missions are then doled out in groups of 3. You visit 4 locations and do 3 missions in each one, and that's it. The structure is always the same. Find an interactable object, press the button, kill the horde, move down the corridor and repeat the process. Now occasionally you go here and fetch this and protect this NPC and bring it back to Point Alpha, but it's this lack of variety in activities that really hinders the game's ability to reach greater heights. There really is no reason to return for anything but a new difficulty, which ramps up the enemy HP and damage to god tier levels, making the game almost unplayable unless you're fully equipped with the right gear score. And it's a shame, because with a bit more depth to the actual campaign, this could have been something really great. There is a horde mode, but that really isn't anything to write home about, and it's no different to any other horde mode in any other game. I think it was added more for the sake of having it than a well-constructed plan to make it a part of the game that you can return to on multiple occasions. Fighting aliens is always a blast, and when you get to see the variations of aliens from the movies, that's also really cool, but it isn't enough to carry it. There are some bewildering design decisions, like having zombie-like foes who are practically irrelevant in the Alien franchise, or having an alien queen you can't even fight or interact with. And for those of you who are familiar with the Alien franchise, the queen is usually the epicenter of the films and games. There are shortcomings to the gameplay and you see them very quickly, but as long as you go in knowing what you're getting into, and that this is a one-way journey, you should have fun for what it presents to you. So Aliens Fireteam Elite is actually a sequel to the original trilogy. You're a marine, i.e. cannon fodder for Weyland-Yutani, who is the big bad corporation in Alien franchise. Something bad has happened on some faraway station and it's your job to find out what. You'll benefit heavily from knowing the alien lore here, but if you don't, no worries, I'll post a link in the description of a great YouTuber who can catch you up on all that jazz. Back to the game, you'll visit various different levels discovering the secrets of a pathogen that's been causing havoc on the station before the Xenos broke free. Much of the story is gathered through conversations with the NPCs rather than the missions themselves, and so I'd recommend checking in with your fellow NPCs to get your fill on the story here. Regrettably, the game's shallow level of content doesn't lend itself well to the way the information is doled out, instead relying on players to read every bit of side content, and that may be overreaching. Aliens Fireteam Elite relies on nostalgia a little bit too much, I think, and although Aliens is a legendary franchise, this game clearly has James Cameron's influence, so if you love Aliens, you'll no doubt love this trip down memory lane. But if not, there may not be too much in terms of story here, and that's why I recommend watching a catch-up video if you do fancy a soiree in the Aliens universe. So the game is touted as a free-player survival shooter, except for when it's not. This was a pretty funny bug, and often during the last mission we had 4 players, which I'm not sure was intentional, but nonetheless it's very helpful to have an extra pair of hands. That's where the fun times ended during my playthrough though. Now since I played, there have been multiple updates, so many of the issues have been ironed out and may not represent the experience you'll have when playing the game yourself. Now onto the main crux of my experience with the game. Audio bugs, the ever-present, anxiety-inducing critters of the video game world, whether it's an unintentional silent disco of a club in Cyberpunk, or straight-up repeating dialogue. Apparently this game is no different. An infernal audio bug that caused guns to sound like they're always firing almost drove me to run a lorry through my PC. Luckily I realized it could be fixed by switching weapons. Still though, such a glaring bug should have been fixed prior to release to prevent players from going on a psychotic driving spree. You also had various bugs in relation to the cover mechanic, which prevented your character from leaving cover or even sticking to it. However, it can be argued that this game doesn't even need a cover system, let alone one that appeared to be as janky as this one. The performance on the game was mostly fine, except for a couple of drops when multiple flamethrowers were being used or multiple abilities were being used. Now I was running a 3080 at 4K on Ultra and I still noticed these issues. The main thing is I don't think the game engine handles multiple aliens and multiple abilities being used all at the same time, and I noticed this frequently throughout my playthrough. In terms of settings, you have your standard settings for your graphics, but you are missing some more of the advanced features like the ray tracing or DLSS. But to be honest, I don't think this game needs it, as the base game graphics are fairly average and don't really benefit from ray tracing. Now bugs are tricky, and there will always be bugs present in any game we play. And overall though, other than the few standout bugs that I mentioned before, I never had any crashes or game breaking bugs, and that's a really good thing, and it didn't really hinder my progress in any way. As far as the soundtrack goes, the game nails it, providing an absolutely fantastic representation of the Alien franchise. I was thoroughly impressed with it, and in that regard, this is probably one of the best Alien games in my opinion. The tone is set so well despite the more lackluster levels. The guns do a great job of replicating the weaponry sounds from the movies, with your standard assault rifle donning its signature sound from the movies and the classic splat of the aliens as you pop their skulls into an acidic mess. However, the Marine voice work needs improvement. I get it, these guys are supposed to be the boots on the ground guys, the meat sacks for the aliens, but at least have an additional voice actor for each gender. The NPCs fare better, providing slightly more believable voice lines and some interesting dialogue which is available to listen to in between missions. You'll have to get used to a few key characters, but luckily enough, none of them are grating, and actually some of them are pretty good. Solid work on the music and the sound effects of the game though. Cold Iron, good work.
Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the review. As you can tell, new camera, new lighting, and a new experience. I hope you enjoy it. If you have any feedback, leave it in the comments. This is going to be the format going forward, and I hope you enjoy it. Anyways, going back to the review. Ultimately, this game had some great perk systems, great gun progression, and some good cosmetics, but it was let down by shallow level content. And in a franchise as huge as Aliens, I expected there to be more. Although it had a limited budget, it did really well with the soundtrack and some of the gun designs. That was phenomenal, but was let down by, again, that shallow level content, and it was just boring after the second playthrough, and I really didn't enjoy it. I recommend this to people who are Alien vets. If you are a long-time lover of the franchise, this is definitely a purchase, as probably all Alien games are. But if you are new to the series, I'd probably say wait, buy it on sale, watch a YouTube catch-up video, and then you'll probably appreciate it more and you won't waste your money. That's the most important thing. Anyways guys, amber, green light. I think this is what the score's going to be consistently going forward. I don't think they're going to update it much more. And so hopefully on the next game, if there is a next game, it should be improved and they'll take some of the things reviewers are saying into account. Anyways, guys, thank you for your support. I'm almost at 1,000 subs, and it's all thanks to you guys. Thanks for sharing and thanks for commenting. Really appreciate it. If you do like the content, don't forget to like. If you do love the content and want to stay up to date with my stuff, just subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching the review. I hope you enjoyed it. This has been the Bearded Breakdown. I'm Alex, and I will see you on the next breakdown. Bye.